should share my screen, huh? This morning we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 84, verse 12. Nagnir na suryo na cha chandra taraka na bhur jalam kam swasano tamanmana upasita beda krito harantyagam vipaschito grihnanti mur vipaschito grihnanti muhurta sevaya. Neither the demigods controlling fire, the sun, the moon, the stars, nor those in charge of earth, water, ether, air, speech, and mind actually remove the sins of their worshippers, who continue to see them in terms of dualities. But wise sages destroy one's sins when respectfully served, even for a few moments. We can look at this word here, this phrase here, muhurta sevaya. Muhurta, a moment. Sevaya, service. Purport. An immature devotee of the Supreme Lord may accept only the deity of the Lord as divine and see everything else as material. Even the Lord's confidential servants. Nonetheless, because he recognizes Lord Vishnu's supreme position, such a devotee is better situated than materialistic worshippers of the demigods, and thus deserves a degree of respect. Association with advanced devotees, either directly or by hearing their instructions, is recommended in this verse for one who wishes to advance beyond the lowest stages of devotional life. A neophyte devotee may be free from the most obvious sins of violence against innocent creatures and against his own body and mind, but until he becomes very advanced on the devotional path, he must always contend with the subtler contamination of false pride, disrespect toward Vaishnavas, and a lack of compassion for suffering creatures. The best remedy for these symptoms of immaturity is to hear from and honor pure Vaishnavas and assist them in working to deliver the fallen, conditioned souls. So we will unshare. Let's see, I can't remember how to do that. Oops. There we go. I'm not sure that I did. So forgive me here. I'm not well, okay, we're gonna have it as a background. So yeah, very wonderful, wonderful verse. Krishna is the speaker. If we remember the context, we're in Kurukshetra, and there is this meeting. Many meetings, many sanghas have taken place in Kurukshetra at Samanta Panchaka, a holy place. So previously we had a meeting between Krishna and the gopis in chapter 82. And we had a meeting between Draupadi and 9 queens, 8 plus 1. Krishna's 16,108 queens. And 8 are principal, and then 1 is representing the 16,100. That was Rohini. And now we have a meeting with rishis, with sages. And we are given some instruction about the higher benefit of a real purpose for visiting the holy place is actually these meetings, this sangha, these discussions that can take place um, to get the holy association of the devotees. Krishna's revealed it in the previous verse, and he's reinforcing it in this verse. Take advantage of the devotees in the holy places, the gopis, the queens, the rishis. So even these sages, they've come to Kurukshetra, to Samanta Panchaka, on a pretext of escaping the solar eclipse. The same for the Brajbasis. Their coming to Kurukshetra was a pretext. Their real purpose was to see Krishna. And we see a real galaxy of luminaries from the Vedic universe. Vyasa, Narada, Asita, Devala, Vishvamitra, Gautama, Parashuram, Vashishta, Pulastya, Kashyapa. They're all there. These are like, uh, these are the most famous sages of all Vedic lore. Uh, even Vamanadev. No, sorry, it's Vamadev. Okay. And so, seeing the sages, Krishna and the kings have stood up to receive them, and they offer, this is very instructive, they offer worship to them. They offer them sitting places. They offer them Argya and Archmanya and Padya, as is the custom for honoring a guest. This is very instructive. You'll find it throughout the Bhagavatam. Whenever someone arrives, an honored person arrives somewhere or is received, then there are these offerings. And if you look at the items offered, it's the same as what we offer in deity worship. So Achmaniam, something to freshen the mouth. Argya, Argya is to purify, like after travel. Argya, Achmanya, and Padya, something to clean the feet, especially if you've been walking for a long distance. It can be helpful just to have an opportunity to wash the feet. Padya, usually with water. We have something in ISKCON we pour milk and yogurt on people's feet. You don't find that in the Bhagavatam. So that's just an interesting little note. Washing the feet is a practical thing. And I know devotees did it for Prabhupada, so he accepted it. But yeah, it's something to think about, pouring milk and yogurt over the feet of of an honored guest. But then, yeah, having honored them. So this is seva, honoring the guest, receiving the guest. That's seva, and then Krishna is offering some glorification. Our lives are successful for having seen you. And then these most wonderful statements. Bathing in the water of a holy place, a pilgrimage. That's something prescribed. Seeing the deity in the temple. That's something prescribed. These are holy acts. They can purify one, but even more effective, more efficacious in terms of purification is to have the association of the devotee. Krishna says, bathing in the water, being in the pilgrimage place, serving the deity can purify after a long time. Being with a devotee, transformation can happen in a second. In this verse, Muhurta Sevaya, one moment of service to the Vaishnava, that purification of the heart, transformation of the heart can take place. And so here Krishna is saying, neither the demigods, purification by fire, by sun, by moon, by stars, we can think about this as well, by earth or water. So some things we purify by fire. My wife is a doctor. And so there's that principle, you sterilize something. In more primitive times, they would sterilize a needle by putting it over fire, right? Um, so fire purifies, the wind purifies. As Krishna says in the Gita, purify as I am the wind. Sometimes you might have some item that you just want to air. You want to put it out in the air, or open all the windows and the doors. Let's get some air moving through this place. You want to purify it. The sun is a purifier. An area that has not been exposed to any sunlight, it's become damp and stale. You just open it up to air and sunshine. It can purify. And then water. Water we use for taking a bath, for washing clothes, for cleaning our home. So these are all great purifiers Krishna's mentioning here. But they have nothing as compared to the purification that is experienced in service to Vaishnavas, even just a moment's service. So the instruction for us, the hint for us, because we are also interested in pilgrimage. We want to go to Vrindavan, we want to go to Mayapur, we want to bathe in the Ganga. It's all good and well. These are authorized, not just authorized, recommended practices. But just don't forget the real benefit in visiting even the holy place is association with the devotees who you will meet there. The sadhus come together. The holy place is a vector where sadhus gather, take advantage of their association. When you go to see, so we go to the temple, right? We go, I'm going to see the deities. I'm going to see the deities. And we go, we pay our obeisances in front of Radha Muralidhar, in front of Radha Govinda, in front of Prabhupada, and then we might walk past the devotees. Yeah, it's easy to do. Here we're being told that's what the neophyte devotees do. The neophytes, they'll go and see the deities. Don't forget to honor the Vaishnavas who are also there seeing the deities. In a sense, yeah. So don't underestimate the Vaishnavas, don't undervalue the Vaishnavas, because we can see the deities by the mercy of the Vaishnavas. In the first canto of the Bhagavatam, when Parikshit Maharaj meets Sukadev Goswami, he says that by your mercy you have sanctified us. This is they haven't started their katha yet. He says, you have made us unto places of pilgrimage by your presence. Think about that. By your presence, you have turned me into a place of pilgrimage. By your mercy, we who are unworthy, he says, unworthy royalty, have become eligible to serve the devotee. Simply by remembering you, verse 33 of the 19th chapter of the first canto, our houses become sanctified. What to speak of seeing you by touching you, washing your feet, and offering a seat to you in our home? What effect can they have? Just as an atheist cannot remain in the presence of the Supreme Lord, so the invulnerable sins of a man are immediately vanquished by your presence, O saint. So if we look at these verses, we'll see three effects of associating with devotees. By remembering you, seeing you, touching you, we are sanctified. All sins are made to disappear. Sat sevaya, by your presence, by this service in your presence, I have become eligible to serve others, to serve other devotees. And by your presence, tirtaka, I have become myself a pilgrimage place. So the verse discussed yesterday in the purport at the end, a very famous verse was cited, which says, where Yudhisthira Maharaj tells Vidura, he says, you are a holy place personified. Here, Parikshit Maharaj takes it one step further. You are a holy place personified who have made me a holy place as well. Not speaking out of arrogance. He's saying, your mercy is so great, your potency is so great that I have been purified. I have been sanctified, and I have become eligible for service. Once we were in Manipur. I don't know if I've told you this story before. We were in Manipur, and we were invited there by Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj. But we used to bring devotees from Manipur to Poland with Indraduna Maharaj. We would bring Manipur dancers and mridanga players and martial artists to Manipur. And so then when we visited, one of those dancers, she was from a Brahmin family, invited Indraduna Maharaj to their home. And she had seen how the devotees serve Maharaj in Poland. So she arranged a big Vyasa-san and foot bathing and Guru Puja to receive him, and invited all of their families, associates, and friends. And so they were all Brahmins. And Maharaj spoke and then asked for questions. And then one man, elderly, he stood up and he says, how can you accept the worship of Brahmanas? How can you, born in the West, and yeah, born in, I won't say everything, but yeah, how can you accept the worship of Brahmanas? And Indraduna Maharaj replied that it's true. My birth is not elevated. I was born in a non-Vaishnava, non-Brahmana family. And you can say into inauspicious circumstances. He says, but my spiritual master is very powerful. My Guru Maharaj is a very powerful Vaishnava. And by his mercy, I have been purified, sanctified, such that I carry his teaching far and wide all around the world, and other people become Vaishnavas through my service to him. What a perfect reply. That is the effect of these devotees. By his mercy, I have been purified. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, there's a very famous story with him and the holy place and Prabhupada. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati he gave great emphasis to pilgrimage. His father and guru, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, wrote the Navadvip Dham Mahatmya. He emphasized the pilgrimage of Mayapur Dham and established some different holy places there in Navadvip Dham. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati expanded on that with an annual pilgrimage, Navadvip Mandala Parikrama during the Gaur Purnima time, and then a Vraj Mandala Parikrama during Kartik. He would personally lead it, walking over the month of Kartik all across Vrindavan. But then also, so giving so much emphasis to pilgrimage to holy places, but then he said, also emphasized service to Vaishnavas and hearing from Vaishnavas. And that famous story is there of um, Prabhupada visiting to join that parikrama with his Guru Maharaj, and the devotees announced one evening that during the pilgrimage today we skipped one of the places. It was out of the way, out of our route, Sheshashai Vishnu. So we're going to go this evening after prasadam is served. Some of the senior devotees will take you to see Sheshashai Vishnu. At the same time, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati will be giving a lecture here in the camp. So most people went to see Sheshashai Vishnu. Prabhupada stayed in the camp. Some others of his senior godbrothers, Sridhar Maharaj, stayed in the camp. Sridhar Maharaj told the story as well. And the story is that they looked at each other, Prabhupada and Sridhar Maharaj, like, where's everyone gone? Like, what are they thinking? And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati made a comment. He said, the way to see is by hearing. And without hearing from the devotee, what will you see? You'll just see stone. You're seeing Vishnu, you're seeing Krishna's form, but without the proper consciousness to see, to know, without the heart of the Vaishnava, we only see stone. The materialist sees the deity. You can go to the Metropolitan Museum, not too far from where I am. You can see deities of Narasimhadev. You can see Varahadev. You can see Krishna killing the Keshi demon with his arm in his mouth. Wonderful, wonderful forms. So many materialists will walk past that every day and their hearts are not moved. But as a Vaishnava, when we see it, having received Prabhupada's mercy, there is some anand, there is some bliss that comes to the heart. Because we're not just seeing with the eyes, we're not just seeing the stone, we see something more. We see with eyes of devotion due to having received the grace of Guru. So Prabhupada, he is that person who reveals the Dham, reveals Krishna, purifies, sanctifies us at different levels depending on our um, ability to receive the grace that is being offered as well. So the qualification of the disciple is also significant. But we see Prabhupada as the perfect example of the living holy place who turns others into holy places, taking gross materialists and making them into disciples and bringing them on pilgrimage to Vrindavan. And here Krishna says, Muhurta, just a moment's association. If we look at Prabhupada's movement and how quickly it expanded, if you look at the timeline, like when I think of my life, I'm thinking in terms of, oh yeah, next couple of years this, and then, within 5 years, something else. And I kind of have a sense uh, of how things are progressing over 5 and 10 year periods. You look at Prabhupada's mission. Jaladuta, 1965, he celebrates Janmashtami. 1966, he celebrates Janmashtami in 26 Second Avenue and initiates disciples. The first group of disciples, I'm not sure it's the first group, but he initiates disciples in 26 Second Avenue, 1966. 1967, he gives sannyas, his first sannyas disciple, in Radha Damodar Temple in Vrindavan. 1967, they celebrate Rath Yatra in San Francisco. 1969, ISKCON UK is established with George Harrison supporting the Hare Krishna movement. So just, 4 years later. New Vrindavan, 1969, Prabhupada opens New Vrindavan, establishes New Vrindavan. And so that's also very significant to this idea of the holy place. Prabhupada comes from Vrindavan. Actually, he celebrates Janmashtami in Vrindavan 1964, 65 on the Jalandhara, 66 at 26 Second Avenue, 67 back in India, and then 69 he creates New Vrindavan in America. So you see how quickly this muhurta, this moment of association with Prabhupada, is having such um, such an effect. In all these places, all across the world, 108 temples he establishes before his passing. Devotional services performed, Krishna resides. And we, here in New York City, are most fortunate that there are so many pastime places of Prabhupada, places where he performed his activities. We visit them, we feel sanctified. We go to 26 Second Avenue. There's a Prabhupada meditations on a Wednesday. There are other programs throughout the week that we can participate in. There's Tompkins Square Park, famously, where Prabhupada chanted. And some devotees lead extended. So those are two famous places that we remember in relation to Prabhupada. Some devotees like Ram Rai Prabhu, they like to lead Prabhupada pilgrimages that venture further afield across New York City to Central Park and to other places on the Upper West Side where Prabhupada was preaching for a period. And then, of course, others in the Lower East Side. And we feel purified remembering Prabhupada and Krishna in these places in the middle of New York City. So by Prabhupada's potency, there is a continuing effect of these places. And by Prabhupada's potency, holy places continue to be created across the earth. The Bhakti Center is an extension of Prabhupada's grace that is also a purifying holy place. When we visit there, we feel sanctified in the presence of Radha Murlidhara Gaurachandra, in the presence of the devotees whom we mustn't forget to honor because they are the ones that reveal the holy place to us and continue the devotional practices that maintain the potency of the holy place. And so here we see that Prabhupada's potency is such that holy places continue to appear across the earth. So we see the power of the devotee. When we visit pilgrimage places, we mustn't forget that the greater benefit can be had by associating with the holy persons gathered there. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave he emphasized 5 practices of bhakti. He said any one of them can awaken love for Krishna. But even among them, we see a kind of a hierarchy. So Sadhu Sangha, Nam Kirtan, Bhagavat Shravan, they are foremost. And then you have Mathura Vasana and Murti Seva are secondary, or they are included within these other 3. And then if we analyze Sadhu Sangha, Nam Kirtan, Bhagavat Shravan, we'll say that even among them, Sadhu Sangha, that is primary. By Sadhu Sangha, then we get to receive the Nam, and we get to hear Bhagavata. We get to hear the description of Krishna's activities. So how do we take advantage of this association? By service, by inquiry. So that's, I guess, a last point. I'm at time, so a last point. Krishna says, Pariprashnena sevaya Pariksit Maharaj is meeting Sukadeva Goswami. He says, "You have sanctified me." But then he asks questions. What is the duty of a person, those who live and those who die? What should be heard? What should be chanted? What should be remembered? What should be worshipped? Shrotavyam, japayam, smartavyam, bhajaniyam. What should we do and what should we not do? What should we not hear, chant, remember, and worship? And this gives Sukadeva Goswami the opportunity to really share what he had, the treasures of his heart. So to associate with devotees, what does it mean? Make them comfortable. Asana, padya, achmaniya, whatever they need. Make the devotee comfortable. How are you? Do you have everything you need? Are you satisfied? And then ask a question. That's what we can learn. We read the Bhagavatam. That's how devotees, uh, that's how people take advantage of a devotee's association. Don't ask the question first. That might be some kind of exploitation. Make them comfortable. And in the Bhagavatam, it's very interesting. So someone will arrive, they'll make them comfortable. Padyam, Archmaniam, and all of that. And then a place to rest. And then maybe even the next day, they'll sit with them and they'll start asking the questions. Uh, so I think about this a lot, that I have relationships with other senior devotees, and often I feel I'm not taking advantage of that association, especially as devotees become older. How am I taking advantage of their association? And then I think the best way that I can is really to ask questions, to draw on their wisdom, to honor their wisdom and experience and service. And so when I go into a moment where I will, a place where I'll have that association, I can prepare some questions even in advance. So I can be ready to really take advantage of the association. Otherwise, you meet and how are you? How am I? I end up answering questions of them because they are they have good social skills and they honor me and make me feel valued. But then I miss the opportunity. I walk away. We had a nice exchange. But did I really take advantage? Did I really honor them? And so we can honor a person's, what do they have to offer? Having lived a life of devotional service, so much realization, so much insight, so much experience. And I can take advantage of that by asking questions. And that's what Vasudev is about to do. He will ask some questions. He's seen all of this. Anyway, that's the classes that are to follow. He's seen how Krishna is honoring the sages, how the sages are honoring Krishna, and then he takes advantage. Let me ask some questions. All right, we will conclude there. Thank you all very much. This opportunity to share with you.
Thank you, Sri Prahlad Prabhu. Dear devotees, please make your inquiries, but first make Sri Prahlad comfortable, please. Don't forget. That's the sequence. Go ahead. I have a reflection, Sri Prahlad Prabhu. I really appreciate the story that you told us about Indradyumna Maharaj, how he responded to that challenge. He said that despite my birth, I'm pure uh, because somehow or other I'm being able to carry out my guru's orders. So it's not the purity where we don't commit mistakes. It's not the purity where I'm holier than thou. It's not that kind of purity. That purity is our ability to carry the message without distortion, our commitment to the guru. That's our purity. Thank you so much for making that point. Wonderful. That's my takeaway. I'm taking this home.
Yeah, thank you for that reflection. And I see Jagannath Gopal has shared the verse that I was citing earlier, where Pariksit Maharaj says that you have sanctified me, you have made me a holy place. Yes, Haripurush Prabhu, comment?
Thank you so much. Excellent, excellent class. I heard this story about Prajapati Daksha had these sons, and then Narada Muni came while they were performing austerities, preparing for marriage to help to populate the universe by producing children. And then Narada Muni preached to them, and they decided to not go ahead with um, expanding population. They basically took, so they were like, what were there, 2,000 sons?
Yeah.
10,000 and 10,000. And
The Haryashvas and the Shamalashvas.
yeah, so at first, they heard and they accepted and they wanted to offer some service. So they brought him 2,000 glasses of water.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't remember reading that.
Glass of water. He said, maybe you misunderstood. Certainly you want to please me. You want to thank me. What am I going to do with 2,000 glasses of water? Basically, I'm comfortable with one glass of water.
Right.
And what I really want you to do, if you want to please me, and how you can thank me is to give what I've given you to others. I'm asking you to preach. We see Andrew Maharaj comes here. What does he do? He brings out hundreds of people out to Times Square to have Harinam. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not that he's saying, yes, give me another pillow, give me more food, give me more, we want to, there's a basic, we are showing our affection and our respect by washing the feet. Krishna gave me the privilege when Radha Swami first came here of washing his feet. And some people were not very happy about that. That's another story. But we receive them, we respect them, we show our affection, we care for them, and then we assist them in pushing on Lord Chaitanya's movement, and that's very pleasing to the Guru.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
you get too much caught up in the pillow and the water and everything.
Right.
To the Guru's going to say, wait a minute. It's something else that will please me so much. And Srila Prabhupada also, he engaged us. Go out, invite others, include others, inspire others, request donations, give them book, give them the holy name. And that is very pleasing to the spiritual master. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah, thank you. And that's the tradition of Prabhupada sending us out to preach, and he's continuing a tradition established by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, who sent out Haridas Thakur and Nityananda Prabhu and the other devotees to go door to door and give people the holy name. And so that is our legacy. That is our tradition. The Guru engages the disciples in preaching Sankirtan. Min Kim, you have a question or a comment?
Thank you so much for class.
Thank you.
Yesterday we heard in the purport that a qualified person can hear Paramatma in their hearts. And today you spoke about qualified person can see deities beyond their material, that we could see them as God. So, seems like one of the ways to get eventually to become qualified to have these experiences is to really serve the devotees and Vaishnavas. I'm wondering, what are some services one can render as a neophyte devotee?
Yeah, thank you. So the idea is that our seed becomes, I'm not directly answering your question yet, but as a meta message, by hearing from the Vaishnava, we develop a special set of glasses. It's called Shastra Chakshus. We come to see through the eyes of the Shastra. And so it's not just the deities that we see as more than stone or It's not just but it's all living beings. Vidya Vinaya Sampane Brahmane Gavihastani Sunicheva Swapakecha. Pandita Samadarshana, the learned person, sees equally, Krishna tells us in the Gita, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater. How they see them equally? Because they see beyond the matter. They see the spirit, the soul within each of those different types of bodies. So we see as through our eyes, but we're seen with scripture as well, informing, not just scripture, Guru Parampara, that scripture as revealed by the spiritual master, by the Vaishnavas. That is the lens through which the data that comes through our eyes is understood. And it is a different experience because your perception informs your experience. So yeah, you experience the world entirely differently. So then to your question, so how do we serve the Vaishnavas and honor the Vaishnavas? Most important, the point that I was trying to make was to really serve by inquiry, serve by becoming a student. To be a disciple means to learn what the spiritual teacher has to offer. And so as in preparation for that learning, then everything else surrounds it, everything else supports it. So ensuring that the spiritual master or the devotee is supported, or that their body is comfortable, that that they have the facility that they need, is related in that you provide the context for their to being able to teach you, and because they want to teach others as well. So you support them, and this is to Adi Purush Prabhu's point. You support them in sharing the treasures of their heart with others as well, because that's really what drives the devotee. What does Prabhupada live for? He lives for Krishna's pleasure. And how he's giving pleasure to Krishna is by fulfilling the instruction of his spiritual master, which is to preach or share Krishna consciousness around the world. So Prabhupada has made that order of his guru one with his heart. Everything he's doing is to fulfill that instruction. And this transfers to the hearts of his disciples and grand disciples as well. They're really living with this purpose to serve by sharing the teachings of Krishna with others. At the end of the Gita, Krishna says, no one is more dear to me than one who shares this teaching with others. And so the devotee lives for that. So becoming somebody first who receives that message, receives that teaching, and lives it in one's own life, that's the first main service. And we do that becoming a disciple, inquiring, providing a context that we can learn and be taught. And then secondly, by assisting, becoming an assistant teacher. As we learn the teaching, becoming an assistant teacher and helping to share that mission as well. Thank you. Yep.
Thank you very much. Mahdi Pusha Prabhu.
Yeah, there's only about 30 seconds left, but there's one story. We may think I'm a new person, I'm not very advanced devotee, but Chakravarti was telling us that he went to the London temple and he followed the devotees back from Harinam, and they were preparing for the feast, and everyone was cleaning and preparing. And they said, you can clean the stairs. He was a college student and he was a little proud, and he was thinking, clean the stairs? Clean it. So he was with one finger, like, kind of sarcastically, like cleaning the stairs with a cloth. And Malati's daughter, Saraswati, came scampering up the stairs, practically crawling. And she said to him, now, anybody can preach, anybody can encourage people to. She said, that's not how you serve Krishna. You serve Krishna like this. And that was it. It just broke his heart. And he just said, my God, to just encourage somebody in some aspect of devotion. It's a 5-year-old girl, right? Another time that she was in India and probably looking out the window, and she said to somebody, do you know who Krishna is? Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he said, just say she is Guru, So we may think I can't do it, I'm not very advanced, but anybody can invite people, give them a book, give them some prasadam, invite them to do some small service, and Krishna will be pleased. That's not how you serve Krishna. You serve Krishna like this, And he said that was it. I became, of course, probably.
So little girl inspired his realization and surrender. Jeffrey?
Hare Krishna, I believe it is time for darshan, is it not? I don't want to overlap, but thank you for this class. Try to make it quick. I appreciate you, and in hearing what you were saying in the early portion of your talk about purification and the various forms of purification, and then I'll continue after darshan.
There it is, Jeffrey.
Terrible.
Jai Radha Muridhara.
Okay, thank you, Sri Prahlad, for a wonderful class. Dear devotees, turn on your cameras, unblur your background. Yeah.
Receive great awe and reverence. By His grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from His lotus mouth. Attachment to His lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desire. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From Him ecstatic prema emanates, and mind ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of His character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy. And the poor and the Lord master. Master is merciful.
Jai, thank you, Janitai Prabhu. Welcome to the Afterglow. Okay. Welcome to the Afterglow. Jeffrey Prabhu, please continue.
Hare Krishna, thank you. I was thinking about this class in light of yesterday's class and the tremendous effort that Adi Purusha Prabhu has given to in sections listening to Prabhupada's lectures and then doing this kind of reflection midway and at the end where we kind of remember exactly as Prabhupada spoke what he said. And then as I was entering the class today and you were speaking, Sri Prahlad, trying to carry that sentiment beyond Prabhupada and this hyper reverential sort of attitude in not an effort to diminish Prabhupada, but to elevate the other Vaishnavas who we hear speak and treating their words with equal due. And so as you were speaking about these forms of purification and the many sanghas that were taking place over the past several verses that we've been reading in Bhagavatam, I'm just reflecting on the fact that there are many paths, many groups. And then when you spoke about the association with, a sadhu could be purifying in and of itself. And then you spoke about Bhagavad Gita chapter 10, where Krishna says of these purifying agents, I am the wind. And so I guess it draws a conclusion or not a conclusion, but a link in my mind between this concept of a purifying wind and the breath of God. And I guess my question at the end of this long-winded maze is there anything to that? In the Bhagavad Gita, it also says that we are carried from birth to birth like aromas on the wind or in the air. So is this purifying agent of the wind, is that the breath of God? Are we to understand it that way? And if there is a hierarchy to these purifying agents, and if that wind is somehow not at the top of that hierarchy, if service even for a moment can be purifying, I guess there's a question in there somewhere.
Yeah, good. Thank you. I appreciate the intellectual activity, the intellectual exercise you've engaged in there. And so as you asked the question, particularly when you came to the end of your question, an insight that came to me. So the connection is, so you're looking at these different elements, right? And then the elements as purified agents. So we have earth as the most dense, then water, fire, air, ether. And then you're connecting that with speech or wind, breath. But the connection that I would make for you, that is clearly made in the scriptures, is the relationship between ether or space and sound. And so sound, then shabda, is considered the most subtle. And so for penetrating our layers of conditioning, sound, Shabda Brahma, or transcendental sound, is the agency or the mechanism to go through the dense layers of conditioning and touch the soul. And so therefore in yoga, in bhakti yoga, the emphasis is given. So in terms of the hierarchy, sound is at the top, connected to ether, as the subtlest and able to actually transform consciousness and purify consciousness.
Thank you very much. That's kind of exactly where I was headed, and I appreciate you kind of rounding that bend for me.
Yeah, great.
Thank you.
One other thought that came to me as you were speaking, so in relation to the breath, and that is that the Vedas are sometimes described as the breathing. It's Vishnu's breath, when Vishnu's resting, that's that breath is also the sound of the Veda. It's also described as the Vedas when Garuda moves his wings. It creates that wind, and that is the sound of the Vedas as well.
That's an excellent point as well, because also in Brahma Samhita they talk about the aspiration and the creation of the universes.
Right.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I'm sure we could talk about it for hours. Thank you. Haribol.
Jeffrey
Right.
Eckler Prabhu is especially appreciating the bird connection there. Yeah.
Bima Prabhu.
Haribol Prahlad Maharaj, a wonderful class, and boy, a pause. I would like to just thank you for, in your own words, sharing the treasures of your heart. Because when I hear you speak on so many different levels, it shows a true attraction for the love of Krishna's word. And I would just like to thank you for that inspiration. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for your affirmation, Bima Prabhu, and your encouragement. Yeah, it helps being encouraged by devotees. So I'm grateful.
Thank you, Sri Prahlad Prabhu. Wonderful class, wonderful Q&A. Okay, let's ask Dana Krishna's Radharani to unmute herself and say Hare Krishna to complete the yagya for today.
Hare Krishna!
All right.
Haribo! How wonderful is Krishna?
Guys, thank you for purifying us.
I would
by
like to
saying Hare
mention
Krishna.
something that Krishna Gonda keeps bringing up, and it's important. I forgot actually to mention it, and that is that today is also Shivratri. So that should also be acknowledged. And as I saw Krishna Gonda's comments, I just thought of a couple of things from the Bhagavatam where Shiva, okay, so he's described as the greatest of Vaishnavas, but then in relation to today's verse, we also have where Shiva acknowledges Vaishnavas, he glorifies Vaishnavas. So Markandeya Rishi is meditating, and Parvati sees him and she says, Shiva, why don't you go and visit him? Give him a benediction. He looks like a really great sage. And Shiva said, ha, he's a devotee. He doesn't want anything. And then he says, but it would be nice to have his association. So let's go and see him. And then Shiva says, is there anything that I want that I can give you? And he says, let me always remember you as a devotee of Krishna. Let my mind always be fixed in Krishna. And Shiva's like very happy hearing this answer. And he looks to Parvati and says, see what I told you? They don't want anything from us, like any material benediction. And then this Chitraketu gets cursed by Parvati for laughing. I mean, I don't think he was doing it in a adversarial way, but he was laughing at something that he saw that he found humorous with Shiva and Parvati sitting on his lap in a company of sages. Parvati curses him. Chitraketu offers his obeisances and says, thank you, mother. You're treating me as your child in that you're correcting me for my mistake. And then as he walks away, Shiva says, you see the devotees of Krishna? Narayana parasarve nakutashthana vibhyati svarga pavarga narake. Whether they are in heaven or hell, they are satisfied. They are happy because they're always remembering Krishna. They're not disturbed even by your curse. And so he's glorifying and appreciating the devotees there. And then the last thought that I had in relation to making others devotees, his devotee, Shiva's devotee was Manasura with his 1,000 arms. And he was a demon. He was a proper demon. But the great grandson of Prahlad Maharaj as well. But he arrests Krishna's son, Aniruddha. He fights. Krishna comes and they fight together. But then when Krishna's about to kill him, Shiva comes and says, "Please don't kill him. I gave him a benediction that he will be long-lived." And Krishna says, "I wasn't going to kill him. He's your devotee. I wasn't going to. I was going to respect your benediction." And then Manasura comes and surrenders to Krishna. And later in the 11th canto, when Krishna is speaking to Uddhava, he says, my devotees appear in all different species and all situations. I have devotees among the trees and the birds and the beasts. I have devotees among the demons, like Manasura, for example. And so Krishna is accepting Manasura as his devotee by the mercy of Lord Shiva. And so Shiva is also an exemplification of what we've been discussing today, appreciating devotees and also making people into devotees by his association. Jai Mahadev.
And thank you, Sri Prahlad Prabhu, for glorifying Lord Shiva so nicely, entrustically. Thank you very much. We love you. We need you. Come again tomorrow. We're all dust in the wind of God. That's very poetic. Thank you, Jeffrey Prabhu and Sri Prahlad Prabhu. Hare Krishna.